MC for this plenary session. Let us start the plenary session. On health science, moderating this session, please welcome Dr. Septelia Inawati Wanandi. Septelia Inawati Wanandi is a lecturer, supervisor for master and doctoral students, senior researcher and research coordinator at Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas, Indonesia. She is also the head of master programs in Biomedical Sciences, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas, Indonesia. You can kindly take the left seat. Thank you. Now we hand over the floor to Dr. Satya.
Thank you very much for the nice announcement. Very good morning to all distinguished guests that attend this valuable event. It is an honor for me to chair this first plenary session in this event. This session will focus and discuss how health sciences could help the world, our nation, to shape the better world. This session we have 6 honorable speakers. I would like to invite these 6 speakers. The first speaker is Professor Nico Vermeulen from Free University of Amsterdam. Please come and sit in front. The second will be Dr. Arianwar, MSc, from Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia. The third speaker, Dr. Budi Wiweko, SPOG, Consultant, MPH. The fourth speaker will be Professor Dr. Yati Avianti, SKP, MN. The fifth speaker will be Professor Dr. Gigi Dewi Fatmawati Sunyati Sastra Dipura, MS, PhD, from Faculty of Dentistry, Universitas Indonesia. Professor Dr. Yati Avianti from Faculty of Nursing, Universitas Indonesia. And the last speaker, Dr. Robiana Mojo, SKM MKes from Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Indonesia. Again, please give big applause to welcome to the 6 honorable speakers. I would like to announce that each speaker have 15 minutes for presentation. There will be a reminder there for the first reminder if the time 7 minutes left, and the second reminder if for 3 minutes left. At the end of the presentation, I will open the discussion time for the audience. The CV for all speakers can be found in the proceeding and also will be present in the screen. Okay, for the first speaker, I would like to give the time to Professor Nico Vermeulen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wanandi. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to be here in this wonderful and beautiful country at this 2017 Scholar Summit, and it is a great pleasure to be here, first of all, to meet and to interact with Indonesian scientists, several of whom are meanwhile my friends, and secondly, it is also a great pleasure to participate here on behalf of the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, or the VU University as it is called as well. And what I would like to do is basically I prepared a presentation of 40 minutes. I recently heard it was only 50. So I reduced the number of slides significantly. And what I'm going to do is basically briefly introduce you in Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. Secondly, in the Institute Aims, in which I am working and of which I am the director. And thirdly, I will illustrate some of the collaborations we have with UI, and notably with UI Facultas Farmacie. And finally, I will show a bit about the research we are doing, and that is about adverse drug reactions. As it is indicated. May I have the second slide? Vrije University is in the south of Amsterdam, and basically the campus of Vrije University is indicated here, next to the academic hospital, and also dentistry is part of Vrije University. University is about 10 minutes from Schiphol Airport, so it's easily reached by university. And if I may have the next slide. Last year, in fact, we had a new building, which is called the O2 Lab building, which is indeed the building in which our institute is located on the first 8 floors. And I will illustrate that a bit more later. The VU is called Vrij, free. It's not free of charge, but it's free from state, free from church, and originally free from commercial interest. It was founded 140 years ago, so it's a relatively young university in the Netherlands, and it has about 3,000 staff, academic staff, and 2,000 support. And in total, and this is figures from 2014, we have about 25,000 students, 10% of which is from abroad. And a significant number is also from Indonesia in our master programs and in the PhD program. We have approximately 260 to 300 PhD promotions every year, 50 bachelor programs, and about 90 master programs. And the majority of these master programs are in English. So English only. There is no Dutch in those master programs. Next slide, please. The institute I'm director of is so-called Amsterdam Institute for Molecules, Medicines and Systems. And together we have 17 full professors from different departments in chemistry, pharmaceutical sciences, life sciences and computational sciences. They together, in fact, cover expertises from molecules and proteins to cells and targets, to systems and networks, and to biomarkers and diagnostics. And in the end, in collaboration with the medical center, there is also attention for diseases and therapies. So altogether, we can really go from molecule to disease with the expertise which is in the institute. In total, there is about 250 scientists working in the institute. It was started in 2010 as a collection of, different disciplines. And on the next slide please, it is indicated that in 2015 and 2016 we prepared a so-called plan of operation for collaboration with Facultas Farmacie. And here we see during lunch in my office Professor Ari and Professor Ari, in fact, who were preparing and signing the treaty. And on the next slide, the signing of the formal papers indeed is done. Basically, one back, please. One back. Basically, the plan of operation is for staff development through joint research, exchange of students in the different categories, including the PhD students, and the organization of symposia. We are collaborating strongly already in the past and we will do so in the near future as well. As such, has quite a lot of collaborations with Indonesia already for many years, and you can see here that apart, for example, from memorandum of understanding with LPDP organization here in Indonesia, especially with the Universitas Indonesia here in Jakarta, our economical faculty, humanities, the medical center, and science, including AIMS, our institute is indeed having memorandums of understanding on plans of operation. This is data from 2015. That was on the day that we were signing a memorandum of understanding for collaboration with BPOM, or the Indonesian FDA, as well. So quite some collaborations with Indonesia, quite some students in our country as well. On the next slide, it is indicated a bit of science. Let's say that during drug development, there is a lot of compounds lost during drug development. The reasons for that is toxicology and clinical safety. And on the other hand, it is shown that over a period of 10 years, the pharmacokinetics and the bioavailability has seriously been improved, in fact, and thereby not contributing so much anymore to drug attrition. But still, let's say efficacy, for example, is amongst 30% of the reasons that drugs during their development are failing before they are entered on the market. Next slide, please. AstraZeneca did a similar study more recently, and they showed that, for example, in part B here, that project closures, 82% of projects finished during drug development is indeed due to drug safety issues. And on the other hand, in phase 2B here on the right side, 88% of the project is finished because of lack of efficacy in clinical studies. So apparently the drug discovery and development process is not very efficient, and it is still not ideal in terms of, let's say, efficacy and safety. Next slide, please. The reason, let's say, for adverse drug reactions, and especially the special class of adverse drug reactions, which is idiosyncratic adverse drug reactions, and they are very rare, occurring usually on the market in 1 out of 10,000 to 1 out of 100,000 patients. And the target organs are skin, bone, and liver. And there is several reasons, let's say, for this inter-individual susceptibility. Next slide, let's say, next slide, please. It's indicating, next slide. Okay, above right, it is indicating that genetics and immune status and disease, which are host or patient-related factors, are causes of these inter-individual differences. On the other hand, there is lifestyle factors, such as drug-drug interactions, for example, drug-food interactions, smoking, alcohol, and thirdly, there is drug-related factors, including the metabolism, high degree of metabolism, and notably also the formation of reactive drug metabolites are an important cause. So basically, the inter-individual variability in drug response and also in safety is the result of many factors, part of which are related to the patient or the individual, part of which are lifestyle factors, and part of which are drug-related, and altogether they are responsible for the variability in this context. So in the end, let's say, what you would like is that patients, let's say, would let's say, experience drug efficacy without drug safety problems. Yeah? So here in the right corner down, drug is not toxic and beneficial. But in many cases, the drug is toxic, as is indicated here above, and not beneficial. In other cases, the drug is toxic, but still beneficial. And finally, there is cases in which the drug is not toxic, but it is also not beneficial. So in fact, the population is, let's say, divided in different subpopulations in terms of drug efficacy and drug safety. And on the next slide, please. You can see that inter-individual variability is for example, illustrated with an old study, 1991, which is a psychiatric drug, nortriptyline. And there is a number of patients, 13 different patients in fact, and patient number 1 here got a certain dose, with 0 there, of nortriptyline, and this patient did not have the gene who is coding for a certain biotransformation enzyme. On the other hand, patient number 13, indicated here, has multi-copy genes for that specific cytochrome P450. And you see that the variability in the plasma concentrations in one and the same dose is 50-fold different as a result of a genetic polymorphism in the drug metabolizing enzyme. In fact, the mirror image is the case with the metabolite of nortriptyline, which is also pharmacologically active in these patients. So clearly, gene-related variation in plasma concentrations and therefore also in efficacy and in safety. Reasons for variability are further, as indicated here, with cytochrome P450. For example, with the 3A4 on the top, you can see that enzyme induction, sex, inflammation, polymorphisms, and age are all of influence on the level of the cytochrome P450 3A4, and thereby also on the metabolism of the cytochrome P450, of the drugs. And as an example, and then I'm finishing up, Sanja Dragovic in one of her, in her thesis, in fact, looked at clozapine, which is an antipsychotic drug, but it is causing in 1 to 2% of the patients granulocytosis, and about 37% mild hepatotoxicity, and a very minor part of that, 0.06%, is serious liver toxicity, which is even fatal as a result of the diclofenac. And Sanja was looking at the cytochromes P450 and the glutathione transferases, which are involved in the formation of a chemically reactive metabolite and also in the protection of the chemically reactive metabolite. And by looking to the levels and the activities of these enzymes, we can in fact simulate and predict, let's say, in different individuals, what the amount of the reactive metabolite will be, and therefore what the likeliness or the risk for side effects will be.
1 minute left, sir.
Okay. In conclusion, let's say, of our studies, it was that the combination of polymorphisms at the level of bioactivation and cytochrome P450 and inactivation or protection by the glutathione transferases may well explain the susceptibility of patients for this type of toxicity. We did similar studies with diclofenac, also a serious adverse drug reactions, some of which are really serious, and I will shift to the next slide. 3 PhD students have in 20 human liver donors measured, let's say, the levels of all cytochromes P450 individually. Secondly, the levels of the glucuronide transferases. Thirdly, of the glutathione transferases. And fifthly, of the quinone reductases. And by looking to these levels, in fact, it is possible to describe the inter-individual variability in these 20 liver donors, and thereby help to explain and to predict the susceptibility or the risk on side effects. And overall, I think, let's say, if we are able to combine the pharmacogenomics, pharmacogenetics, let's say with drug-related properties, we indeed ultimately can combine this and take care of healthy patients. My last slide, thanks. So I would like to thank, let's say, my group, basically, which was a picture in the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands, where we had something to celebrate, and also our supporters of the research, including the LPDP, because there's 2 PhD students in our institute funded by LPDP. And having said so, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to further collaboration with UI and with Facultas Farmacie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Yeah, you can sit again. Thank you very much for your very inspiring presentation. I would like to invite Dr. Ari Yanuar for the second talk.
Thank you, the Chairman. I'm glad to be here to talk about our work. It's not big works, but very small works from our group about in silico approach as for drug discovery for natural compound. So our work, our group is mainly work in silico, mainly work with conventional aspect, and also our work collaborate with other group in faculty and also other faculty, especially Faculty of Computer Science, also a group of natural compound. Okay. We are from Laboratory of Computational Biomedical Computation and Drug Design, established 4 years ago after we already, as a faculty. Faculty of Pharmacy is a new faculty here. Before that, we are belong to Faculty of Mathematics and Science, now become independent as a faculty. So, next slide. So this is typical figure of drug discovery, usually shown by various people for to mention or describe about the length of discovery of the drug. Usually takes several years to get one proof to the market. So usually there is many phases from discovery phase, preclinical, clinical trial. Clinical trial, there is many phases. First, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, usually including many patients. After that confidence to the market, going to the market, the FDA will approve this drug. This takes maybe 11 or more than 11 years. So the next slide. So if we see in the Science Direct the terminology of in silico, we will find very lot of paper. There is 52,000 papers, including in silico. If we combined with keyword discovery, will be reduced 17,000 paper, and also with natural products, also is a big number, 13,000 paper. So in terminology in silico, sometimes people call it virtual, usually with conventional experiment. So this is one challenge for us for trying to contribute in drug discovery. We hope in silico or computational experiment can reduce the time of the drug discovery. So many success story from various countries that the in silico program can reduce the duration of drug discovery and go to the market fastly. Next slide. Next. Okay. Approach of in silico and drug discovery, usually there is two main category: structural based drug discovery and ligand based drug discovery. I don't want to go deep into the method. Usually structure based drug discovery if we know the target of the disease, but in the ligand based drug discovery the target of disease is we don't know. On the next. Yeah. For the target of interest in our work, we are making a screening of natural compound from Indonesian plants, herbal DB. So we use both approach using structural based drug design with a molecular docking process, and also another method with ligand based drug design or drug discovery. So before we can go further with the screening or virtual screening, we have know the molecular interest. We have collect the database. So we develop database for screening for various targets such as HIV/RT, reverse transcriptase, protease, histone deacetylase, glucosidase, angiotensin converting enzyme for hypertension, yeah, and SMG coenzyme A reductase for cholesterol. Okay, if we know the target, we can see from which plants the compound come from. So the first we have to develop Indonesian herbal database first. We collect from various sources. Next. So the requirement of database, we have to collect the local name, species name, description, etc. But the important thing is 3D structure for drug discovery. Activity is also important. Next. So there is various database in the world, especially in natural product. For example, in traditional Chinese medicine, CAM-TCM, there is a lot of structure here. Usually the structure could be purchased for next analysis. Next. And also there is a TCM Taiwan. There is also popular in natural compound database. The next. So there is like a review for database. So database in East-West divide in of this drug discovery. There is also that the database can bridge the Western medicine and Eastern medicine. Yeah. The next. So in this database, in this paper, TCM database, there is content 20,000 pure compound from several 400 TCM ingredient. This we will compare with our database. The next. Yeah, this is our database, three-dimensional structure database. We collect from various plant from Indonesia. Yeah. Next. This database comparison. From ChemTCM database Taiwan, and HerbalDB, they collect 8 years from TCM Taiwan database. Compound in ChemTCM is a lot, but in our database we have about 1400 structure could be screening. It takes 2 years to collect a database and get several cases for student. Yeah. The next. This database from our website could be download from people and also for collaboration. Next. This is one of our result for screening. From the database, we could screening inhibitor from HIV reverse transcriptase, and we got the several prospecting compound come from Indonesian plants. Next. Yeah. And also we try to screen, virtual screening with protease inhibitor. Next. We also use for finding new active compound with histone deacetylase. Next. Screening for alpha glucosidase with this one of plants with molecular docking, and also we next use with the in vitro test. Next. For alpha glucosidase, we also make some modification with cinnamic acid, make some structural modification with chemical synthesis, so we check the alpha glucosidase in vitro. The next. This one our review with angiotensin converting enzyme before we check the activity from screening with angiotensin converting enzyme. Next. There is a screening docking from melinjo or metamnemon. There is also activity to angiotensin converting enzyme. Next. And last, with SMG co-reductase, there is also activity metamnemon seed extract, and we can identify the potential inhibitor that can lowering cholesterol level. Next. So indeed, so for example, we can see the main content in melinjo or metamnemon. There is resveratrol content. Usually, resveratrol rich in grape and also in the skin of the peanut. But in this case, we use make an extract from seed of melinjo. So from various extract, we can get the result from dichlormethan extract with a high yield. Next. And we check that extract, the biggest yield, there is inhibition activity, percent of inhibition activity from dichlormethan extract is high. So from this work, we can see that what compound in the dichlormethan extract. So from this work, we can see later about activity from independent compound containing in dichlormethan extract. Okay, the next. Yeah, this our work with some compound in seed. Affinity kilocalorie per mole with molecular docking, so I can see monocyte as glycon content in melinjo have high affinity and exhibition constant. Next. So we also have a collaboration with the Faculty of Computer Science to develop various work with, for screening, not only using molecular docking and ligand-based approach, but we also make with learning machine learning work and also artificial intelligence to develop test bed for computational screening. Next. So we are welcome for collaboration because we have in-house database for screening, and also we can do the in silico screening from various platforms. And we also develop our method for extracting and isolation of our promising compound for further analysis. Okay, next. Yeah, thank you for your.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ariano, for your valuable results you have presented us. The next speaker is Dr. Budi Wiweko, Dr. Budi Wiweko from Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm trying to continue our discussion this morning sessions with the development of telehealth and also mobile health application, especially in Indonesia. Slide, please. Slide. Sorry, before. There's your slide. Yes. As introductions, we are knowing currently that the need of telemedicine right now is quite demanding. I think this is the data from United States. It's about 2 years ago, 75% of the large company in US prefer to recommend telemedicine to cover health services for their employees. Slide, please. So I'm going to talk about the consumer health informatics, the development of telemedicine and mobile health applications, and also our challenge and opportunity in Indonesia. Slide. I think this is the slide. Yes. Yeah, I think this is the 2 decades ago, whenever the doctor's-patient relationship is like these pictures. At the time, maybe doctor just say, just take these pills, and then please going home, don't asking me many questions. But right now, it's totally wrong. Because the shifting paradigm, the doctor's-patient relationship now is more patient-centered approach. The doctors and patients have a balanced relationship. Next slide, please. It is because of consumer health informatics. Whenever the internet-based and also electronic-based resources that the patients can retrieve a lot of information, and it is determine their capabilities in decision making of healthcare services. Right? So that's why right now we are facing the full empowered patients, which is the patient is not passive, the patient is quite active, the patient is our partner, so they have a full independent to making a decision to get the best health services for them. Slide, please. And one of the important things in consumer health informatics is telemedicine. This is the remote medical practice. Slide, please. And it is consists of 4 types of telemedicine services in the world. The first is teleconsultations. Second is tele-expertise. This is the second, the way the doctors need the second opinion from the expert. And then the third is telemonitoring, and the last is for the tele-assistant. Slide, please. As we look these figures, this is the box is explaining about the teleconsultations, and the tele-expertise need requesting physicians, and then tele-assistance also is the way whenever we as a clinicians assist our friends, our colleagues, whenever they want to do one of the procedures in health services. And telemonitoring is right now by using mobile apps. I think a lot of patients currently just take the picture of electrocardiogram, take the picture of laboratory result, and then they send directly to the doctors and asking the advice directly to the doctors. This is our ECG, this is our laboratory result, what is your opinion, doctors, what is the next treatment or the next medication for us. Slide please. And how is the business? This is actually very interesting, the business process in consumer health informatics. This is the left side, this is the professional health provider information systems, and then the right side, this is the personal information system that is belong to the patients. So the data can be exchanged from the health providers to the patients, and then they can become a personal health information for the patient. But the most important issue is about security, confidentiality, and also not all the data from the health provider can be changed to the patient's perspective. Slide please. And what's going on in Indonesia? I think we're quite agree. We are it's quite huge country. It's around 2 million kilometers in square in size, and it takes almost 7 hours flight from Jakarta to Papua in east. It looks like flight from Jakarta to Tokyo or from Jakarta to Hong Kong. That's why we are very agree that the need of telemedicine is quite demanding in our country. Slide please. And also if you look the number of general physicians in Indonesia, even we have until now 150,000 general physicians, but still the ratio is quite low. I think still less than 50 GP for every 100,000 population. I think in the highest ratio in Jakarta, the ratio is around 30 GP among 100,000 populations. How in Papua as well, only 21, and also in Banten, even in Banten or West Java is quite close to Jakarta, the ratio is very low. And how to develop the telehealth in Indonesia? Next slide please. So this is the policy from Ministry of Health of Indonesia, that the requirement to be a center of telehealth in Indonesia, the first is should be has a 24-hour specialist. There should be the teaching hospital in Indonesia, and should have a good IT infrastructure and also a good commitment. Slide please. And how was the development until now? Actually, we have two established telemedicine in Indonesia. The first is teleradiology, and then the second is telecardiology. Teleradiology currently is setting the center in our hospital in Cipto Mangunkusumo General Hospital, Jakarta. It is also the main teaching hospital of Universitas Indonesia. And we have the 5 sites as a center of teleradiology in Indonesia. The first in North Sumatra, second is South Sumatra, this is in East Java, and this is in Sulawesi. So this is currently still going on almost 5 years. The next is about, slide please, the telecardiology. It is also developed by our center. The center of cardiology is National Cardiac Center. Harapan Kita Hospital also is our teaching hospital of Universitas Indonesia. And we have the 3 provinces in the pilot project. The first is Banten province, Jakarta province, and Bandung province. Also the pilot project, this is in emergency ambulance, the 118, and this is the primary healthcare in Jakarta, and currently is running well. Slide please. And how we start the establishment of telemedicine in Indonesia? We start from the training session. I think it's the most important part, how to establish the telemedicine systems. This is whenever we do the training for the GP who will run our telemedicine system in the rural areas. So we giving their the knowledge and also the competence how to read the X-ray, how to read the ECG before they send to our center in Jakarta. Slide please. And this is the role of Ministry of Health in telemedicine. Very important thing, the providing legal aspects. Even it's not well established, but the legal aspect is very important because it is related to the patient's data. Actually, patient's data is very privacy, very confidentiality. So the data exchange during the telemedicine is a big sexy issue in terms of legal aspects. And also the facilitating and coordinating, including the fee, cost, and also involved with profession associations. Slide please. And how we do the collaboration with professional organizations? For example, for teleradiologists, this is the Indonesian Radiologists Association, this is Indonesian Cardiologists Association. So very important that they are giving the recommendations or they are giving the training for make the competencies of every GP who are working in the rural areas for having some competency in reading X-ray, in reading ECG, in also performing X-ray and also performing ECG. This is very important thing. Slide please. Another thing after the telehealth, also the mobile health. Right now, I think we are quite agree this morning, welcoming remark from Ministry of Information and Communications, that electronic health currently revolutionizing healthcare delivery and healthcare informations. Also, if we talk about telehealth, if we talk about electronic health, mobile health, we talk about big data. Slide please. So big data is coming a lot, is coming from the health data, it's becoming the massive amounts data around us that can become also from the mobile health application, can become also from the telehealth system, and it's very important it will become the personal health information. If you talk about the bioinformatics, or if you talk about genome related data for the patient, it is also very important for the health services in the future. So the next, this is one of our research product. It's established from the 1,600 patients. The data it is established by our laboratory. We established the calculator, the formula to predict biological aging. So slide please. If the patients comes to the laboratory and then they check the serum anti-murine hormone and then put the data into this calculator, they will know their biological age. Slide please. And also and vice versa, whenever the patient 35 years old, they should know the normal level of AMH level is 1.4. Slide please. And it's very useful for the patients. If we have two patients, the chronological age is 25 years old, but looking at the serum AMH level is quite significantly different. If you use this kind of machine, they know that the first patient is really the same biological age with chronological age, but the second patient is worse because her biological age is older than her chronological age. So they know this is quite very worse. They should go faster to the doctor in order to get a pregnancy. Slide please. Slide, another slide please. Yes, this is also our access in fertility because I'm working in the reproductive technology. Our access is quite bad. Only 46% the patient can get fertility access in their own city. Slide please. So that's why we are creating the smart approach in reproductive technology. Slides please. Slide. Next slide. Yeah, this is combination of the telehealth system and mobile health applications in order to bridging the gap between doctor and patients. So we're collecting the patient's data into this app, and then we have the good communication with the patients. So the patient now knowing well what happened in their embryo, for example, because this app is established for the reproductive technology or test tube baby. Slide please. Another unfinished agenda in Indonesia is maternal mortality and perinatal mortality. Slide please. So that's why with our college in computer science, we are building the tele-ultrasound. Slide please. Yes, this is the three causes of maternal death, and then we will see only 25 to 30% of gynecologists of obstetrician are located in Jakarta, so that's why the distribution is quite bad. Slide. So that's why we are trying to establish tele-ultrasound system in order to improve early detection of high-risk pregnancy and fetal growth. So we do the training for the GP to know that what is the risk of the pregnancy, placental implantation, malpresentation by using ultrasound. Slide please. This is the step of ultrasounds. Tele-ultrasound establishment. Now we are currently in the second year. We have already made the system, the tele-ultrasound smart system can do the face detection, biometry, the automatic detection of the fetal growth by using our database. And currently we are here in the using software establishment is just finished. We are going to make a pilot study. Slide, please. Yes, now we are in the second year. We already trying to make a regulation training model for primary physician. Now we are in the second year in the collaboration with the industry. Slide, please. Yes, I think this is our challenge in establishing the telemedicine in Indonesia. The first is policy and regulation. It's not well established yet. Even now we are trying to advocate the Ministry of Health to establish this kind of regulations. And also the infrastructures, many restricted, limited yet, especially for the 3G connection. Human resources, device and sustainability regarding the funding especially. Slide, please. I think more evidence is already proven that telemedicine will improving access and also quality of health services. So that's why, slide please, the telemedicine and also mobile health application establishment is a must. Slide. And I'm coming for the last slide. This is our summary. So the first, we know that now is consumer health informatics has changed the paradigm of health services that toward patient-centered approach. And the second, the telehealth and mobile health applications, we believe that improve the access and also the quality of health services. And we should accelerate the establishment of telehealth systems to increase the coverage because we are very, very huge countries. And this is the first very important to relate it, to embed the system into universal health coverage systems in Indonesia. And last, we are inviting transdisciplinary collaboration to enhance our capacity and competency for developing telehealth system, including regulations, cost effectiveness, confidentiality, and also legal issue. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Widiweko, for presenting us your valuable achievement. The next speaker is Professor Dr. Yati Avianti, SKP, MSN. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm honored for me to be here to share our study about the evaluating of sexual nursing intervention, evaluating sexual dysfunction of Indonesian cervical cancer survivor, and we did two data from qualitative and quantitative study. I'm from Faculty of Nursing, and the nurse that close to patient and share listening to their experience about how they complain the sexual dysfunction after they got cancer and cancer therapy. Background: gynecological cancer survivor experience worse sexual problem, and our study focused on the cervical cancer survivor. I think the fact the cancer and cancer therapy have decrease the quality of life. Around 67 cervical cancer survivor reported sexual dysfunction, which is they have complained vaginal dryness, dyspareunia, and decreased sexual desire. And I think they have distress about the complaint. The next slide. Sexual problem is not easy to overcome by the CCS and their spouses. CCS and their spouses need psychosocial help care, including information, counseling, and physical practice to leave the sexual dysfunction and restore the sexual tension relationship after cancer therapy. And we, the team, developed the sexual nursing intervention that did the study content education and counseling and alluding to sexual problem to improve intimate relationship among CCS and their spouses. This is the objective our study, to determine the effectiveness of sexual nursing intervention in alleviating sexual dysfunction. Our CCS get all the post-chemo radiation, including in this study will describe the experience of the cervical cancer survivor after sexual cancer intervention for our study. The data were collected using the female sexual function index with the 100 for survivor, and reach the result. Our data in the quantitative data, we did a semi-structure in the interview for the 10 couple to share her experience after following intervention. Participants or the cervical cancer survivor and spouse who received the sexual nursing intervention. And I established the sexual intervention comprised two sessions, which is concise the education, counseling, providing guidance, advice to address physical and psychosocial issues. We got ethical clearance from Faculty of Nursing of Universitas Indonesia, and our participant get written information which is objective and procedure of study, including the risk and benefit of participating into the study. And then the respondent and sign consent form to prove that they are willing to participate in our study. Okay, we now got the result. From the quantitative study, we got the mean age of the cervical cancer survivor and their husband. They more 40 years. I think the CCS getting the climacteric period. And then the data collection, we care the outpatient attending consultation of the gynecological department. For the next is for the measurement, the statistically analyzed, showing that the mean score of the subscale dyspareunia and the satisfaction display, we have statistically significant difference between the intervention and the control group. Meanwhile, the other subscale, which is the vaginal lubrication, sexual desire, arousal, and orgasm level is not significant different between intervention and the control group. And our study enriched to the qualitative data. Next, please. Okay, from the qualitative data, the study revealed the participant experience. First experience, they express that they have the decreased dyspareunia because they have various methods were performed by respondent and their supports to reduce their sexual problem, which is changing the intercourse position, practicing the Kegel exercise, and the perform relaxation and the using lubricant. And then they also express something like that. I think now the pain is decreasing. It's not too dry anymore. It is not too dry because I do intercourse in prone position. so my husband can easy to help me to relax. Then it is no longer painful, just like what you have taught. This is one of my participants said what is the experience about after the sexual intervention, nursing intervention. And then beside they decrease the dyspareunia, they also achieving relationship satisfaction. One of the participants said like that. Next please. No, I'm not only thinking about my husband. It's all will make me happy. I still can do my role as a wife. This is, I think, Asian woman culture, and I have never care about my condition. I love my husband and make me happy. My husband doesn't push me to his the lower like I used to do, but now we are like friend for life. No, what is obligation the wife to the husband, but friend for life, and he cares a lot of my health. We are getting closer emotionally, and then they are not what is getting, still lacking sexual desire. I will say that like the what is participant one for our study. I would not feel desire although my husband helped me. I am not ready for the intercourse, as you have taught me. Also shouldn't be afraid and be relaxed. Well, maybe takes time to be ready. This is from one of participants. Another result, they also still difficult to regain orgasm. And this is one of my participants say, to reach a climax it was quite difficult for me recently. I do not meet it, although I try to be relaxed. This ready talk. And then, next please, we are going to the discussion. I think the results of the sexual nursing intervention prove the sexual function among CCS. After the sexual nursing intervention, my study is supported by the finding previously this researcher who saw the previous study. And respondents state that their increased knowledge in managing dyspareunia, vaginal dryness with the Kegel exercise, using lubrication gel, and touching stimulation for their husband. Similar methods showed the consistent the result. I think my result also not significant different in the sexual desire and arousal. It can be explained that the sexual desire and arousal are emotional issues. It does take time to be ready since they are associated with altered individual behavior on the recently condition of the sexuality. And then, beside they not getting well in the sexual desire and orgasm, they have sexual satisfaction in woman more determined emotional attachment by her husband, either physically and psychologically partner than the level of their reach are not reached. Satisfaction comes from the woman's ability to fulfill their obligation as well, and the stability of the marriage. This is related to culture of Asian women. Then we have two limitations for our study. The first limitation is taboo culture to open discuss about the sexual problem. And the second, my limitation, respondent in this study at the period at less than 1 year post-treatment I think improving the sexual function is process adaptasi to their sexual life. It still continue over the time, which they bring different result. Maybe if I took the data in the different time. Then go the conclusion and the implication for the practice.
2 minutes.
Sexual intervention may help the CCF and supposed to deal with their sexual problem. We are nurse, have the educate, confident, competent to deliver sexual nursing intervention, and the intervention should incorporate the standard supportive care nursing for CCS in Indonesia. And this is my advice, and maybe later we are let's continue with discussion. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. The next speaker is Professor Dr. Dewi Fatma Uniarti Sastra Dipura MS PhD. It's yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to talk in this valuable event. My topic of title is like this. Thank you. The rationale of pharmacology for dentistry. Why pharmacology? This slide. You can see in picture here. Many people, all people, from younger until older, from various of age, need drug when time of illness. Drug can only be prescribed by doctor or dentist. Therefore, medical student and dental student got this lesson, pharmacology, from the beginning of education until the end of education, even after becoming a doctor or a dentist. Pharmacology is branch of medicine, concerned with use, effect, and mode of action of drug. Drug is chemical compound that affect the structure of the body, part of body, and functional of biological system process. In other words, drug is chemical substance used for treat, cure, prophylaxis, and diagnosis to a disease or promote health. Because of the large broad understanding of drug, in the field of dentistry, we know term of periodontology pharmacology, endodontic pharmacology, oral medicine, geriatric pharmacology. It shows that pharmacology play a role in a dental specialties. Administration of local anesthetic and prescribing of analgesic anti-inflammation, antibiotic, antiseptic are classical example in dentistry. However, older patients are associated with polypharmacy and knowledge of drug interaction and adverse effect that cause dental problem are important slides. This is two pictures show the example of expression of people who generally come to the dentist, and the dentist should be able to provide treatment. It's very unhappy facial. Next, in general, patients who come to the dentist due to pain or discomfort in an oral cavity and affect their daily activities. Pain and discomfort is generally caused by infection, either bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Therefore, antibiotic, analgesic, anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, and anesthesia local are almost widely used in dentistry. Actually, pain and discomfort in oral cavity can also only caused by food impaction, excessive filling, temporomandibular joint disorder, and drug side effect that manifest in oral cavity. In this condition, drug does not need to be given. This is a figure, some example of condition on our oral cavity. This is some condition. You can see here, this recession of gingiva. Maybe anybody have this one. And with calculus, it's very dirty and very uncomfort for patient. The dentist should clean this area to make a clean oral cavity. Sometimes a food infection also come painful because food in between the teeth because of mastication. Next slide. This is also condition. Sometimes temporomandibular joint disorder can painful and abscess also come painful. The dentist first should do local treatment before give a drug to the patient. This is a condition of side effect of drug that manifests in oral cavity. For example, of halitosis, hyposalivation, and candidiasis, and fluorosis, hyperplasia gingiva, and ulcerative mucositis is a correlation with chemotherapy. All these conditions, dentist no need give patient drug, but it's possible, if possible, please remove the drug before the treatment in oral cavity. Slide please. For most people, the first impression about doctor is someone who write drug prescribed. In dentistry, however, a dentist is usually concerned about removal of the cause rather than instruction patient to use certain drug, possible as the cause is accessible to removal. Drug alone are not sufficient to produce tooth therapeutic effect. However, dentists should complement the provide dental treatment with proper drug to the comfort and sometimes safety of the patient. In order to administer a drug and drug safety, the dentist should have sufficient knowledge about the mechanism of action, indication, contraindication, adverse drug reaction with other drugs. There are 5 rights of drug administered: right patient, right drug, right route, right dose, and right time. These 5 rights are according with definition rational use of drug according to WHO. This is a figure illustrated that use medicine rationally. Don't let yourself be flooded with them. Next slide. Definition of rational use medicine is patient receive medication appropriate to their clinical need in those they meet their own individual requirement for adequate period of time and the lowest cost of them and their community. The problem of irrational use is irrational use or non-rational use of the used medicine is way that is not compliant with rational use as defined above. Common type of irrational medicine use are the use of too many medicine per patient, we call polypharmacy. Inappropriate use antimicrobial, often inadequate doses for non-bacterial infection. Overuse of injection, when oral formulation would be more appropriate. Failure to prescribe in accordance with clinical guidelines. Inappropriate self-medication, often in prescribed only medicine. The irrational drug administration also often occur in field of dentistry. Therefore, example, prescription vitamin for tooth extraction is not irrational. And administration of mouthwash without prescribing local drug. Administration of antibiotic and anti-inflammatory analgesic in gingivitis, simple gingivitis, food infection or traumatic ulcers. Using unnecessary combination of antibiotic and analgesic is all irrational drug administration in dentistry. Cause of irrational use including lack of knowledge, skill or independent information, unrestricted availability of medicine, overwork of health personnel, inappropriate promotion of medicine, and profit motives for selling medicine. The impact of irrational drug use is next slide. This one. Impact of inappropriate use of drug can reduce quality of therapy, loss of resources, risk of unwanted effect, and psychosocial impact. In reduced quality therapy, become a morbidity and mortality, loss of resources and reduced availability, and increase of cost, risk of unwanted effect, adverse reaction, and bacterial resistance, and psychosocial impact, especially on unnecessary drug. Slide please. There are several basic considerations to drug selection. Consider the benefit and risk. The benefit must be greater than risk. Use drugs that have established. Use the drug that you know. Best administer the drug is needed. Administer drug according to dose. Use smallest effective dose. Choose the safe drug administer. Do not choose a new drug of new, but use good new drugs. Consider drug prices. What are the efforts made to improve the pharmacologic knowledge of dentistry? In our faculty, provide pharmacology course for undergraduate students. Provide pharmacology in dentistry profession student in 4 or 5 years. In this stage, pharmacology is very useful because it can be directly applied to patients with various diseases or complaints in oral cavity and other factors as a participant. Hold rigorous pharmacology training for dentists, for example, through refreshing course in dentistry periodically. In conclusion, I hope in the next future, dentists can give dental health services to the community with better knowledge pharmacology and to solve dental problem in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the inspiring presentation. The next speaker, the last speaker is Dr. Robiana Mojo, SKM MKes from Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Indonesia.
Thank you, Chairman. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very pleasure to stay here to share the information about the Faculty of Public Health and as well as our research in identification of mercury in local gold mining North Sulawesi. We noticed that mercury is very harmful in the, that the material is liquid, but in the room temperature it's still mercury. And the largest number of mercury has been used, and particularly in Sulawesi, in Kalimantan, and also in Sumatra. So we know that since it is danger and harmful to the people, this study has been conducted in small-scale miner industry, which is located in North Sulawesi. We know in Indonesia, the location of small-scale industry of miners is very close to the home, even expose the vulnerable groups of community, such as pregnant women and children. That's why we conduct the survey to identify how exposed the worker as well as the family. Yeah, we have seen here mercury is one of the harmful and toxic materials, silver, wet and volatile material at room temperature. And they used to separate the gold and to exchange for the structured activity. Do some student exchange in urban environmental health in Asia. We do collaboration with Curtin University, which is a joint degree. This is already a batch, the third batch, and we have established joint degree as well with Curtin, in University of New South Wales, Griffith, still coming, North Academy, University of Adelaide. And we do have also potential collaboration with University in Malaysia and in Germany. For not structure or extracurricular, we do have received some AGG's students from Australia, and also WHAS for the fourth batch. For research, we do have collaborating with joint research in occupational health and safety with Tohoku Japan, and we do some collaborating with Johns Hopkins University, UCLA University, Breastfeeding Hospital Initiative and Family Planning. Also, we do some joint publication, and for community service, we are of Southeast Asia One Health University Network, and also Indonesia One Health University Network, and also we have very Desasdari as our project for laboratory in field. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robiana, for the nice presentation. I would like to apologize to the audience that we don't have enough time for the discussion. So if you want to have a question, you can contact the speaker directly after this session. I would like to, as a closing remark, I would like to emphasize what we have learned today from the 6 valuable speaker, inspiring speaker. The first, the keywords is personalized medicine. The speaker have suggest some approaches to achieve the to develop the personalized medicine. The first, using pharmacogenomic databases to identify various adverse drug reaction in population, using rational pharmacology to prevent drug interaction, using in silico study to discover new drugs from natural compounds of health drugs, also using telemedicine such as telehealth and mobile health for patients with high mobility and also for patients in remote and isolated population. Also, they suggest also the post-treatment care for cancer patients, for example, to improve quality of life, and last but not least, the health education, such as mercury contamination to develop the personalized medicine. Thank you very much to the audience for the attention, and also thank you very much for the speaker. Please give big applause again to the speaker.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Secretary Wanani, and all the first panel session speakers. We invite all the first panel session speakers to have photo session on stage. You may step forward, please, for the photographs, and paparazzi to take the photograph. Also the moderator.